Good day to be indigenous.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Karagi, to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, we have our friend, State Senator Mary Kunesh on today, as we do most Fridays. I think you have a record of probably continuous shows being on the show. I think you only, the first 8 years, I think you might have missed once, but I appreciate you coming on as always. And thank you again for, talking to our audience about what's happening national and locally.
Sure. Hamataki everybody. It's really another Friday pleasure for me to join you and just kind of chit chat about what's going on. And I love it when I'm out and about and somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, I listen to you on Fridays. I really enjoy it." And, for me, I'm just kind of rambling about stuff some days. We get on a rant. But it helps me stay connected with folks too. So I'm really happy to be part of this.
Wow, I appreciate that. And I always have really a lot of thumbs up about your segments and your day that you're on. One of the things that, we talk a lot of local politics because you're our state senator here, and but nationally, and the election coming up, the midterms, and Trump last night, which I got to give a lot of credit to a lot of the networks out there. They did not play his I don't even know what we want to call it, his rant about the election being turned from 2020 when he was president and running the country. I don't know. And I don't know what they're complaining about now, too, because you got the Republican president and the House and the Senate. So it's upside down world with this guy. But we want to talk about early voting and voting, so there's no doubts in our mind what's happening.
That's a really good one. Yeah, I have to admit I did not listen to his delivery last night, focusing on election security. I just didn't have the confidence that what he would be saying was going to actually be authentic and real and true. And from what I'm hearing, it kind of was just that. I know that he announced some declassification of some intelligence documents and then used that as, I think, kind of a false warning about some vulnerabilities in our voting systems across the country. But I think he was setting the stage because he wants that SAFE Act, the one that pushes for, strict voter ID legislation. And, I think we have to be really careful about falling for the trap. In the past, I know that he has, claimed that our voting systems are susceptible to interference. Well, that's probably true, but I know in Minnesota, and I really do trust our Attorney General and our Secretary of State, Steve Simon, and the AG around making sure that those voting systems, not just the electronic ones, but the paper ballots are safe, they're secure. There's always a conversation about foreign involvement in messing with our elections. And so I think it's just really important. Minnesota has very low incidences of voters who are perhaps not eligible to vote, maybe have got them, I think I'm not mistaken, I think like lower than 2%.
Oh,
For some reason that pops into my head, but I think we do a really good job here in Minnesota, and we have not had voter fraud the way that people, that he might express it. And I hope that he's not setting the stage for some kind of interference or invalidation. We have the primaries coming up here in Minnesota. The primary election day is Tuesday, August 11th.
Yeah.
And today is, what is today? The 17th of July.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And folks could have been voting by mail already.
Yeah.
You can start voting in person a little bit early. Register, by July 21st to save time on election day. And I think, please, everybody participate in those primary elections, because that election really determines which candidates will be on the ballot in the November general election. So, for example, in my district, both of my House members decided not to run for re-election.
Oh.
And in one of them, on the B side, there is a primary challenge. So one of our candidates, Amada Simula, who is the mayor of Columbia Heights, is running. And then a young man, Justice Spriggs, from St. Anthony Village, are both running. Amada won the DFL endorsement, but Justice decided he would continue to run anyway. And you can do that. I mean, that's what elections are all about. So in the primary, it's determined which one of them will win that primary election, and their name will be on the ballot, because you can only have one for that. So there are, currently 5 candidates for governor, I believe, and on each side, only one candidate can be on that ballot. So it's really important that people still go out and vote at the primaries. And if you're not sure where to vote, just Google, where do I vote in Minnesota? And it will come up with all the voting information. And it's important, just as it is in November, to vote in that August 11th primary.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of back to what you were saying earlier, it's just it amazes me that he even said that he had asked China and Russia to help him with the election in 2016 and 20. And of course, they did with all those ads that circulated over social media that really bashed the candidates. And, the Republicans are all in power. And a lot of the times that I've heard about illegal voting, it's Republicans that are going to court for it. So it's just a lot of malarkey. I couldn't say malarkey. And, just now the DHS Secretary Mullen pledges to chase down voter fraud. What in the heck does that mean? I mean, we got a out of control war going on here that nobody wants. We have gas prices through the roof. The economy's hit the bricks for regular people. But he's worried about the 2020 election still. And I agree. I think it's going to be a precursor of the election. And I hope the states really, Simon and all the other people across the United States are ready not to hand over these votes to the federal government and count them themselves.
Yeah. I think one of the concerns is that they'll send in, some kind of security group that are going to be at the polls, which can be very intimidating, especially for our Indigenous people. I feel like we're just starting to get into the practice of voting regularly. And if they bring in additional people, that certainly is discouraging when many people are already feeling uncertain and unsafe.
Exactly. Hey, we are here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and this is Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Maintaining our health, particularly our heart health, is very important to us as a family.
Your heart gives you time with family, time with community, time to pass down what matters. Protecting your heart helps keep those moments alive. A visit with a healthcare provider can be one step toward a healthier future. Learn more at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats. Your heart health is essential because your heart beats for generations.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we are here with State Senator Mary Kunesh from the great state of Minnesota, our state senator and our friend and our weekly guest, and we really appreciate you coming on. We were just talking about elections, and one of the things I don't always say this, but I feel like, State Senator, that we should be really talking about people going out and voting early and doing the mail-ins and things like that way before the election.
100%. If you can get to those polls early before the 11th, please do. Please do. And, you know, it is really, we think it's an inherent right, and it should be an inherent right to vote. But we know that, especially for Native American people, Indigenous people across this country, we were only allowed to vote, in less than the last 75 years?
I think 28 was the first year, but it didn't really go to all the states until I hear the 50s.
Yep, it took that long for states to allow it, and there were all kinds of stipulations. I mean, there was even a time where, they wouldn't let you vote, but maybe if you turned over a plot of land, we'd let you vote, things like that. And so many people, or they made it very difficult. The polling, there wasn't a nearby polling place. They put the election boxes in areas that made folks really uncomfortable, like the police station, things like that. But I think, especially in the last 10 years, we've been working really hard on getting out the Native vote, because we haven't had that voice in the elections. And therefore, forever, people were making decisions for us without our input, without us being able to talk about it or to say, no, that's not a good idea. And elections really do matter. Mm-hmm. Who is representing you makes 100% difference. And, I guess for me, I just say it doesn't matter which party you are, but just make sure that the individual that you are, that is representing you, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Green Party, whatever the case may be, make sure they're representing you in the best way possible. And sometimes you have to vote by the individual rather than your party, I would imagine. But, Native folks, please get out there and vote as soon as you can before November 11th, so that there aren't any repercussions at the polling place.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of looked up what are some of the rules, because, we've heard that perhaps Trump and his folks will be sending people in to monitor polling places, or to check people's IDs, or, just to mess with, basically intimidating voters at polling places. And it's important to know that only authorized people can be present at polling areas. We can't campaign. Like, I cannot go stand at a polling place and have my shirt on, like Senator Kunesh, have my signs up. People can't be wearing my shirt in there or handing out any kind of lit. They can't do that. You can't try to influence people at the polling place. So you can vote. You can bring your minor kids in, which is a really good example. And someone, a polling worker, can assist a voter if there is a question. But they can't gather, you can't linger at a polling place, and you can't even be within 100 feet of the building that the election is. So if it's at a school or a church or a library, people can't gather or try to intimidate people. They have to stay at least 100 feet from the building. And so it's really important that folks understand that you can't take photographs, and we all have the right to our privacy. So nobody should be, trying to intimidate us by saying, "Oh, I saw," taking pictures of us going in or coming out, or any of those things. And it's just really important to know that we take it very seriously here in Minnesota.
I was thinking when you were talking during the surge, when you were out protecting students at the schools, and that story about the ICE agent knowing who you were and saying, I don't know, your address or whatever. That's a thing that really is frightening me with our relatives voting, is that the ICE presence and them not really caring about the federal or about law, and they think they are the law. That's the thing for me that's kind of frightening me now. So I really like what we're talking about when it comes to early voting. And even so, the day of voting, if you've already early voted, which is great, you can help other people vote too.
You can. And I think that from what I remember is that, like, if you are connected to somebody who does not speak English well, or doesn't read English well, you can bring somebody into the polling place with you. And I think of, like, my children, their grandparents are Lebanese. They speak good English, or they spoke good English. They spoke French and Arabic. But they had, voting the way we vote was not, something they were really familiar with. So at a very young age, my children would accompany their grandparents to the polling place, and they could stand in, you can stand in there with them, and you can read the choices, but you can't say, Grandma, vote for this one, don't vote for that, or whatever the case may be. You can read them the options, but trying to influence another person is not acceptable.
And one of the things, I guess I didn't say that right, what I was getting at too, is that people that don't have access to a car or a bus line, is to jump in there and help them, give them a ride, to load up the car and give them a ride to the polls.
That is a really good point. I think when we talk about getting out the vote, we always say, what is your plan to vote? Yes. And what is your alternative plan? So if you say, I'm going to go in and vote on election day at my polling place, and then, 3 days before you find out you're going to be out of town, or you're something's going to keep you from voting on the 11th, who's going to help you get to an early voting site? So it's a good idea to vote early, and if you can't, have a couple of different plans. So for folks up north whose polling place is miles away from where they live, think about when the next time you're going into town to go shopping. Could you stop off at wherever your early polling place is and vote while you're in town that day? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're just driving through one day and you're like, hey, let's just get this out of the way. Let's get it done. But it's just really important to know that that all of our tribal members, all Minnesota citizens who live here and that sort of thing, have the right to vote. And remember, there were plenty of elders that didn't know that. In the last 10 years, I've run into a number of them that didn't know that we could vote in general elections as well as tribal elections.
Crazy. One of the things that I want to bring up too is that we can give rides. We can do one of the things is what I really wanted to say. Excuse me. I lost my train of thought, was that if the head of the family, usually the grandma or the mother, is voting and she can get the rest of the family to vote, that's a real big key too. So people out there listening, have your grandkids and your kids vote. And also, if you're a young voter and you voted for the first time, whether it's the first election or second election that you're able to, you will be a lifelong voter. And so it's get out there and get that first round going.
Yeah. And bring your friends along with you. It's just really important that we get the right people representing us in the state. It's our future. It's our children's future. It's the generational future. We need to start setting it up. And then, think about volunteering to be an election person at the polls on that day. Yeah. They always need folks. There's always space for people to participate in that way.
Yeah, let's just participate. It's the old saying: if you're not at the table, you're probably you're probably the dinner. So we need to. You're on the menu. You're on the menu. I knew it was something like that. But do you have time? We got another 2 minutes here, but do you have another time for another segment?
Yeah, we can do another one.
Great. So let's finish up this one. This is awesome. I remember the first time I voted. I think I'm older than you. I voted for Jimmy Carter as opposed to Ronald Reagan, and that was the presidential one. And I've been voting. I haven't missed an election ever since. But I know in the last 10, 20 years, and especially just paying attention in the last 10 years, how important every election is.
Yes. And I can tell you my first election, I voted Jimmy Carter as well.
So you're a little younger. I think I was 1980, so I was 19. So an amazing, and what an amazing man he was, and he really had a great heart and worked for the community and did the right things. And you think about him, that whole presidency back then, he had to sell his peanut farm. Now we have somebody like Trump that's making not trillions, but billions and billions of dollars because he's still in business and still lining his pockets with all these deals and things, and they're giving him prizes and he's keeping it all. They gave him a plane that cost the taxpayers $500 million to revamp. It's just insane. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we got another segment with her. We really appreciate her stopping in as always. This is Native Roots Radio. We'll be right back after.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe.
Located in the renovated Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Heart health is more than just the physical well-being. It represents like a foundation of vitality, resilience, and the ability to live fully.
Your heart carries stories of resilience, love, and survival. Caring for your heart means honoring yourself and the generations before and after you. It means protecting your ability to gather, laugh, and be present. Learn more about your heart health at hennepincounty.gov/heart-beats, because your story matters and your heart beats for generations.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. I've been telling you about Snap Construction, the company AM 950 trusts for all roofing and siding needs. Now that spring is here and summer is around the corner, now is a great time to find out why AM 950 trusts Snap Construction. Ryan, the owner, and his team at Snap Construction have been great to work with, and they have enjoyed working with our listeners.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners at AM 950. What a great group of people and a great radio station. I personally want to thank all the listeners that we've had the opportunity to work with. At Snap Construction, we look forward to working with many more of you when it comes to your roofing, siding, windows, and insulation. Don't just take Chad's word for it. Google Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the Twin Cities metro. We led this community with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Don't wait to get a free estimate. Call today, 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or visit us online, snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. This evening, a chance of showers and storms with a low of 71, then Saturday sunshine with a high of 90. Get your elegant box of French macarons today with Nicolette's Macarons. Nicolette's is located off Highway 169 and 36th Avenue along the Plymouth-New Hope City line. Stop in the store or order online at nicolettesmacarons.com. ATNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Annie, I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we are here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and for our last segment together. Mary, we always like to check in and see what you got going on during the week. And I know we always talk about how your job's a part-time job, but it's really a full-time job. And I know there's things going on constantly. I saw you at Peggy Flanagan's rally at the Indian Center, and I know you got a life too, and grandkids and kids, and can't forget your favorite kid, your son. I always give Mary a hard time about her son, but there's more going on, and it's political season, and I guess Monday too, we're going to be ramping up here on Native Roots Radio and being out at Peggy's rally.
Well, that ought to be fun. I think there's a real fun lineup, isn't there?
Yeah, well, special guests Ilham Omar and Keith Ellison, and of course the headliner is Bernie Sanders and the Lieutenant Governor, and that's the doors are opening I think at 4, and there's music by Politica, and 5 p.m. will be speaking. The speaking program starts, and it's at First Avenue, so get out there and get a selfie in front of Prince's only star that's yellow on the First Avenue building.
Yeah, I hope it's a good day, and I hope we don't have the kind of smoke that we've been having these last couple of days here in Minnesota. We were supposed to have a parade last night in Fridley, one of the communities that I represent, and they canceled it earlier in the day. And of course, by evening, it was beautiful out. I was sad because I love those parades. But yeah, the smoke that's coming down from up north has been really, really tough. I mean, literally yesterday morning, I could see smoke actually moving through the trees in my front yard and my backyard. It was super hazy. Finally turned on the air conditioning. I'm not an air conditioned person, but because of that, I did. And those fires are nuts, just burning up the boundary waters.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this too. And I just, we had Bob Blake on a couple days ago, and we were just talking about how, this, I've never seen anything like this. This is like 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago, when it was just worst for, it ruined our whole summer. I'd say a month we had terrible air because of the fires from Canada. And I've never seen this in my 65 years of living. I've only seen this recently, and I got to think a lot of it has to do with the global warming and things like that.
100%. I mean, I think this is really a testimony to how we are not paying enough attention to global warming. We are not heeding the attention of how to protect, these lands and the people. It's just been so out of control. I think, I think there's been more than 800 wildfires across Canada this year. And of course, what's going on in northern Minnesota, I think there were, I don't even know how many there were up there, to tell you the truth. I know there were dozens of fires up there, but that was caused by lightning strikes. Thankfully it wasn't a cause from all the folks up in the boundary waters that are camping and canoeing and that sort of thing. But the dangerous air quality with all that smoke particle mix, I guess in Duluth, they actually, could see ashes flying through the air. And that's serious stuff.
It was at, and I don't know what this number means, but I would look at my phone, and it tells you the temperature and how the breathing is moderate. And, I know at 190, it's bad, and 200, you don't want to go outside. It was at 500 in Duluth.
Mm-hmm.
The air quality.
It was super bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how you try to manage fires up in the boundary waters, where a lot of those places are very, very remote. There are not fire hydrants or access to that area. I'm just really glad that, I don't know, I haven't heard of any fatalities on the Minnesota side due to the fires. Have you?
No, I haven't, but it's weird. I'm on Associated Press, and they were talking about wildfire smoke kills tens of thousands of people a year, and how it attacks your body. There's a big article on that, but so maybe some of it will be residual too. I never really thought about that, because for me, I wasn't. I get stir crazy if I'm in the house too long and I don't go for my walk. And I was in the house all day yesterday, and I got out early this morning to do my long walk I do every morning, but I couldn't yesterday. And I saw people out and about yesterday too, and I'm just like, oh man! And I was a big smoker for 30 some years, 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important to also remind folks that your animals are really susceptible to this smoke. The children, who wants to keep them inside during the summer? But the dangers, so many kids these days have allergies and asthma, or might be affected by the smoke that we don't even know about. And so just be, might have to, I'll start wearing masks for a little while here. I don't know. If Representative Koslowski sent out a text yesterday that I was on, and they were looking for, the kind of masks that we used during COVID.
Wow.
What are those called?
N95?
N95. She said it's so bad up here, and they've blown through whatever they had.
Wow.
And the plea for those kind of high quality masks and other protective gear just was like reminiscent of COVID days.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how serious it is. I know that they have been very instrumental in getting the kind of supplies that the community needs up there. But I don't know if we have a stash anymore anywhere.
Yeah.
I know I have a few of my cloth ones. I've got some of those blue ones still tucked in my car.
Yeah.
But if there are people out there with those kind of supplies, maybe you can share those with our neighbors to the north.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I don't know how bad it is up there, but it's really in Twin Cities. It's really settled down. But I know the fires. Maybe it's the winds change, but the fires are still raging up there. So that is a good point. Maybe we can send some masks up north to Duluth and thereabouts. I didn't even think about that, but you're probably right.
Yeah, I think the governor has been up there. I think some of the leadership up there have been doing what they can. But an interesting part of what I do too is that I am on the Great Lakes Canadian Legislative Consortium or whatever I forget what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about things that are affect the United States as well as Canada, because as I like to mention, there was a time when there were no boundaries.
Yeah,
there were no Canada, US, and you can't go across the border kind of things. And we talk a lot about the water quality and of the Great Lakes and issues that are going on around there. But I think it's also important that we connect with the Canadian folks that are just across the border, because a lot of those people are literally relatives, literal relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can help each other in that way, I think it's really important.
So how can people get more information? I forget about this because we rarely talk about this, but how can people support you in your campaign? I don't think I've ever really asked you that. Is there a website and get more information? Because that's the thing I really want to remember to bring up, especially now that we have an election. We're in election season.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing that up. I do have a website that folks can go to. It's just marykunesh.com, MaryKunesh.com. I have some information about the elections there, a little bit about me, my vision, what are the things that I really want to work on as a legislator. And then there's a tab to contribute. and any bit will help. I can tell you that in Minnesota, we have a program whereby if you donate $75 to a candidate or $150 for a couple, one time, you can only get the refund once, but you are eligible for a refund of up to $75 or $150 per couple. So for an individual, if you have not contributed to a candidate, and let's say you send me or another candidate $75 or even $100, 75 of that is refundable, and it's up to the candidate to send that person a receipt and help you get that refund. And I know that I always donate to somebody and get that refund, and it turns around very quickly. You can either have it automatically deposited or the state will send you a check, but it happens really quickly.
I got one from your office last year, now that you mentioned that.
Oh, I think I remember that.
That's awesome. So I want to give you a quick shout out. We only got like 30 seconds left, but also hopefully on your website, it talks about all the accomplishments you've had these past 10 years and how much work you've done, because we know that there's people working at the Capitol that don't do anything, and you're a doer. And I really, really appreciate you coming on and speaking your truth and letting us know what's going on. And it's great to be in your shadow.
Appreciate you as well.
Right on.
Thanks to everybody.
Right on. Hey, Native Roots Radio. Up next to our Young Warrior Woman segment with Miisko. We'll be right back. This is
When we heal from our traumas,
When we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovative Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Tiergan.
And I'm Hadley.
We're two of the very first listeners, and we're
still listening to Native Roots Radio.
Oh, hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio. I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we are here with our producer here, Miisko, and we call this segment on Fridays the Young Woman Warrior segment, and it's great to have you aboard, Miisko, and talk about really whatever you want to talk about. But I know a lot of times we talk a little bit about what's happened this week and in the news and also on Native Roots Radio. Welcome as always. Thank you so much.
Bonjour. I'm so glad to be on here. I just want to say Bonjour and Dinaway Maganiduk. Hello, my relatives. My name is Miisko Gimiwan, which means red rain. I'm grateful to be on the show today because, as always, I'm in the background doing things back here on the other side of the studio, but I am listening and I'm watching all the conversations that are happening. I'm also seeing what's going on online, what's going on out in the world, and I just kind of want to give my perspective as I guess you could call me a young adult still. I'm still learning. I'm in my mid-20s, and I'm just glad, Robert gives me, a young Indigenous woman, a platform to, talk about what I'm learning and kind of give my perspective on things.
Yeah, it's great to have that too, because, part of I really like to talk to Robert Lilligren, especially because he's really connected into the community. And we are really at that age where we're looking for people to take over and do things in a good way. So it's great to have you aboard, and really excited that you're excited to be doing this.
For sure. I look forward to this every week, and it helps me pay more attention to what's being said throughout the week and just kind of sit on it and just be like, hey, this seems important. Let me look into it more. And so, I don't know, I think one thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit today is about, the fires and the wildfires and the smoke that's happening. I really appreciate anytime Bob Blake comes on and he's giving us updates on what's happening. He spoke on the show on Monday before the smoke got down here, and then I was talking to my relatives here at my house about it, and I was like, it's crazy because there's people out there who track the weather and who know when things are going to happen. And then it did happen. And so just hearing Bob Blake giving us updates, on why it happens, on, people who want to build these infrastructures up north near the boundary waters, how that's going to affect everything. And then I really appreciate how everything is just related. Everything's connected. So it's like, why voting is important. It's because this is what you're voting for. And this also affects the wildlife. And then, it is part of the natural cycle about wildfires and what happens. And, there is Indigenous fire knowledge. And so something that I want to talk about is to many Indigenous nations, they have used cultural burning to small, carefully planned fires to reduce dangerous fuel buildup, improve wildlife habitat, encourage healthy plant growth, lower the risk of massive wildfires. And I learned a lot of this while I was a youth at Dream of Wild Health, because they used to talk about how back in the day they used to burn their crops or the area so that they can stimulate growth within the plants. And I think that's something that maybe we need to start doing or start looking at is historical knowledge of Indigenous people and Indigenous practices, because there's science in it, whether or not it's, approved or said correctly by Western sources of science. But natives have been doing things, Indigenous people have been doing things for time immemorial, listening to the plants, listening to the planet, and living with the planet, not owning the land, but living alongside the plant relatives, the animal relatives. I don't know, that's kind of my little spiel or idea of what's happening right now.
I'm really, really glad you brought that up, because we have that knowledge as Native Americans, and I'm glad you have that experience too about controlled fires. And I've read numerous times over the years that people, the farmers and people that are controlling these fires should really listen to Indigenous people of the land, because they've been doing this for 10,000 years where it comes to those controlled fires. So really good on you on that one.
Yeah, and just another thing, just as Indigenous people, like I was saying, we're taught that the land isn't something that we own, we live alongside it. Everything's connected, and I don't know, I just really always go back to that. But again, the fires remind us of how connected we are to the forest, to the waters, to the animals. And as young warriors, for our Young Warrior segment, we can do our part by respecting fire restrictions, staying informed about air quality, learning from Indigenous knowledge, and remembering to care for the earth today, because we're not only caring it for our future, but again, you always say the next 7 generations. And so just thinking about that, as well as our own health, staying healthy, staying indoors, or just reducing your trips that you're doing, taking care of our elders and our young ones when the air quality is poor.
Yeah, definitely. The good ups on you. What else did you hear or I shouldn't say today, but this week? And I know you got a chance to hang out with Dallas Goldtooth this last weekend, along with Lieutenant Governor at their rally at the Indian Center on Saturday. That was really fun. Was that fun?
Oh, sorry. I have so many windows open. Yeah, that was so fun. I have so many notes that I have in different windows. But I had so much fun going out there. Like I said, I brought my grandma. It was both of our first times going to, a rally of that sort. We were just super excited to see Dallas Goldtooth. My grandma's a huge fan. We got her an autograph. She's shy, so asked me to go, and then I wanted to take a picture with them. But it's always great to hear our community speakers, especially Robert Lilligren. He has such an elegant way of putting things in perspective. We have Rachel Dion Thunder. She always speaks from her heart and really pulls my heartstrings when she talks. Dallas, he's a comedian. He had a hilarious entrance coming onto the stage. He was being carried like a princess up there, and then he got right into it, and he was just really knowledgeable. And he put it into perspective of voting one person in isn't going to change everything, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's like when you drop a pebble into a pond, it starts a rippling effect, and it can start affecting so many other things. And so it's great to hear from him, and especially hearing from Peggy Flanagan. And I'm super excited about next week because we will be going to another rally on First Avenue.
Yeah. First Avenue, the world famous First Avenue. I really like too what Dallas said about, no matter what happens after this election, if we win, that's great, but we're still going to go hit the streets and be active, and nothing's changing because there's still work to be done. And he said that so much better than I just did. Oh, there you go.
Oh, my apologies. I was going to say, yeah. Again, just having all these great people talking about why it's important to vote. I always thought that this was never a space for me, and a lot of people my age. I even went and talked to, some old friends and old coworkers about what's going on today. And just that it's super important for us to be active, learn about what we're doing. I really want to step up and start informing my peers about why it's important, why we should be voting, and for Indigenous people to get out there and use their voices.
Well, what a great way to end the show and end this week. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. This was Native Roots Radio. Thanks again, Miisko. We'll see you, everyone, next week.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands